Howdy, welcome to The Potential for Ethanol and Fuel by Patrick Strouderman. The source of ethanol for biofuel. Even though ethanol can be made from yeast with sugars from various sources, the primary crop used for ethanol production nowadays is corn. Corn is a choice crop because it can be efficiently used throughout the process of production, and all byproducts can often be used in the agricultural industry. Corn obtains the necessary nutrients for life, like most plants, through respiration and photosynthesis. The other crucial component to ethanol production and fermentation is the yeast. In nature, wild yeast strands can be found almost everywhere. Through large amounts of testing and experimenting, an optimal strain of yeast was found to be Saccharomyces cerevisiae. I'm probably butchering that. The process that makes the yeast important is the anaerobic respiration, which is also known as fermentation. This process is what causes the creation of CO2 and ethanol. And you can see equations for photosynthesis and fermentation there. The top left of this slide, we have the wet milling process, and the bottom left, we have the dry milling process. There are two primary methods for corn-based ethanol production: wet milling and dry milling. The wet milling represents the conversion from whole corn to just the starches and waters necessary for the yeast to break down the sugars into ethanol. Dry milling is a process of taking that starch and water and using enzymes to convert them into sugars so that the yeast can consume it. Lastly, in production, ethanol is refined until 97% ethanol is achieved through distillation, which involves the evaporation of the ethanol itself and the recollection and refining. Ethanol as a fuel in modern times. Today, ethanol is used in fuels such as E10, and this implementation has resulted in common fuels having lower amounts of greenhouse gas emissions. Although it works greatly when combined with other fuels, ethanol is most likely not going to be a sole source of fuel since it contains about 30% less energy than gasoline. However, the combination of the two has been increasing as time goes on. And the burning reaction can be seen in the bottom right, as well as the fuel consumption and reflective energy in the left. The carbon footprint of ethanol production. Ethanol is a better fuel for emissions due to the source of fuel. The carbon dioxide released from the emissions of burning ethanol is hypothetically consumed by the corn whenever more ethanol is made. So it kind of offsets. And this is not possible when burning fuels such as gasoline or diesel, since there is nothing to consume the carbon dioxide that is relevant to the process of their creation. Economics and implementation of ethanol. Ethanol has already been implemented around the world through the mixing of ethanol and gasoline, as previously discussed. Although this implementation has been a hot topic of debate due to the reduced fuel efficiency and the increased engine knocking that results when trying higher percentage ethanol in fuel. Unfortunately, the decrease in emissions also harms consumers, since 30% less energy means that the fuel will become less efficient in terms of miles per gallon. Ethanol now and in the future. In the United States, much of the ethanol research and implementation is at the forefront. Many companies are working to improve ethanol production and push the usage of ethanol in fuel and other applications. However, many scientists contest this idea as they believe that there are other forms of energy. I believe the future of ethanol as a biofuel is best suited as a quick implementation to reduce greenhouse gases that would not be used as a long-term solution, and it should be rather seen as a quick adaptation that will inevitably be outpaced and replaced by other forms of renewable fuel. Here are my citations. Thanks, and gig 'em.